Now, I have been a reader for about 3.5 years, and in that time I've read 270 books, and can definitely say that I read some books at the beginning of my reading journey that I definitely wouldn't read now. So here is how my reading taste has changed. I got back into reading in the spring of 2022 because I joined a book club for my sorority. I was a sophomore in college and just doing absolutely everything to be as involved as I could in my sorority. I've never hated reading, so I thought, why not join this? Be a great way to meet some new girls and maybe read a book or two and just have a good time, really. So the first book that we read in this book club was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which I did not read because even in grade school, I actually despised reading classics. Not to mention the fact that I could not read the Old English that this was written in and understood absolutely none of it. I think I made it maybe like a quarter of the way through and never finished it. So I didn't go to that book club meeting. But the next book that we read was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Now, if you've seen any of my videos, then you might know that Emily Henry is one of my favorite authors, and Funny Story by her, which came out in 2024, is one of my favorite books of all time. So it might shock you to hear that when I read People We Meet on Vacation in the beginning of my reading journey, I actually did not enjoy it. And you might be thinking, how is that the book that got you into reading if you didn't enjoy it? While I didn't fall in love with the book that I was reading, I did fall in love with the act of reading itself. I was a huge bookworm when I was little and like through elementary school. It really was in middle school and high school that I just really did not like reading. I am very much the type of person that might enjoy something, but if somebody tells me to do it, then I do not want to do it. So once I got into the age where we were forced to read certain books for English class, I just stopped reading for fun entirely, which is actually really sad, like looking back on it. I am so fortunate that I am now at a place in my life where I can enjoy reading again, obviously. Look at my bookshelves. So when I was reading People We Meet on Vacation, it actually was making me feel so much like a kid again. I was taking it to my classes, and I was actually in a finance class in college, and my professor would give us time to like work problems, and when I finished the problem, I would pick up my book and read a couple pages before he started like explaining the solutions and stuff, which is what I used to always do in elementary school. I was always the kid who had a book on her desk, read so many books all of the time, was reading under the desk when the teacher was talking and I should have been paying attention. Reading this book and the experience that I had while reading it was just making me feel like such a kid again. And so I read People We Meet on Vacation, and it kind of just spiraled from there. I read 20 books that year, and they were all across the board. I read romance, YA books, mysteries, thrillers, dark fantasy, dystopian. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't like. But the fact that I was reading at all was a big improvement because I hadn't read that many books in a year since I was probably in like the 5th grade. Now, 2023 was when I started this channel. And when I started creating content, I was not letting myself read the books that I really wanted to read. I wanted to prove that I was not like other girls, and was only reading books that I wasn't seeing anybody talk about, even though I really did want to read the books that I saw everybody else talking about. So it wasn't until 2024 that I started allowing myself to read the books that I was drawn to reading. And that's when my content actually started getting better, because I was actually enjoying the books that I was reading and not forcing myself as much to read books that I thought would make good content. And through that, I was really seeing what my reading taste is. I love thrillers, clean contemporary romances, YA fantasy and mysteries, and dystopian fiction. So when it comes to finding your own reading taste, I would say that it just takes time. I started reading in the spring of 2022 and didn't actually start reading in my reading taste until the spring of 2024, 2 years later. When you're getting into reading and you're figuring out your reading taste, you are not gonna like every book that you pick up. So don't rush it. Don't try to force yourself to enjoy books that you're not enjoying, because that's not gonna encourage you to read more books. Don't read a genre because you think it's what you're supposed to like, or that's the version of yourself that you, or that's how you want to present yourself to other people, because then you're not really enjoying your reading. And at the end of the day, reading is for fun. Nobody really cares what genre you read or how smart you look reading this specific book, this specific author, if you're not enjoying it. You don't really know what you like or don't like to read until you read it. Like, you might pick up something that you think is right up your street, right up your alley, and you think you might love it and read it, and then you actually don't like it. When I was first getting back into reading, I probably had like 20 90s mysteries on my shelves. I read 2 of them, and now they are no longer on my shelves. Because for some reason, I was convinced that that was the type of book I was gonna love, and it's just not. I would also say to read across many genres, because again, you don't know what you're gonna like or not like. So don't pigeonhole yourself into a certain genre because you think it's what you're supposed to be reading. As you read more books, you will naturally become more aware of what it is you like in books and what you don't like. So don't ignore the books that you are drawn to reading. And lastly, don't be afraid of change. There are books that I read at the beginning of my reading journey that I am surprised that I read. And I look back on it and I'm like, I can't believe I read that, because what I know now is that I would not enjoy reading that book. And I have no doubt that some of the books that I'm reading, even now, in a few years I'll look back and be like, I can't believe I read that book. Let me give you an example. So around the fall of 2023, I read The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I gave it 5 stars, loved it. It's the first in a series, and I read the other 4 books in the series probably within that same month. And I loved it. I was like, this is a 5-star series. I would tell anybody that I knew about the book series, and I loved it. I wanted everybody to read it. In July of 2024, I went back to read it because I was gonna make a video where I was reading my favorite book series in 24 hours. I made it probably about a quarter of the way through the first book, The Deal, before I DNF'd it. Because while rereading it, I was like, this book is so much more vulgar than I remember it being, and I do not like the way that the guys in this book are talking about women. It had been less than a year since I had originally read that book, and my reading taste had already changed so much in that time that I no longer enjoyed a book I once called 5 stars. And that's totally okay. What I like today does not have to be what I like for always. So take your time, read all the books that you can, and slowly piece together what you know to be your reading taste, because that's how you enjoy the hobbies that you like. Anyways guys, that is all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoy this type of content. Comment down below what you think your reading taste is today, and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content in the future. I hope you have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.